Welcome to In the Loop Podcast, a podcast that is inspired by the breakaway roping lifestyle. I'm your host, Jordan Joe, professional rodeo athlete, NFR qualifier, and business owner. My goal is to promote the sport of breakaway roping, alongside with celebrating and highlighting elite competitors in and out of the arena. This podcast shares the raw and the real of breakaway roping, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories from competitors, producers, leaders, and the trailblazers, all sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. Join me to talk about breakaway roping, the history, the present, and the future of our sport. If you want to be in the loop, you're in the right place. Thank you for joining us. Take a listen. Okay, guys, so today we are here with Craig Deveraux, and he is in charge of the Full House Horse Sale. They are from Newcastle, Wyoming, and we're going to talk all things horse sale today. So, Craig, thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been navigating technology this morning, so we're pretty excited that we've got it all nailed down and we're rolling out here. So, Craig, talk to me a little bit about the Full House Horse Sale. It's coming up May 27th in Newcastle, Wyoming. So break it down for me. Tell me a little bit about it and what you guys have going on there.
Well, this will be our 14th year, I believe. And before that, I helped put on a sale with some other guys. So, we've been in the business for, 25 years. And primarily our focus is to raise, train, buy horses and train them so that we have a really versatile ranch rodeo type horse that the public can get along with, and our focus is success, whether it be winning in the arena or just having somebody that just loves their horse. That's kind of our focus, so.
Right. Well, and I think that that's really cool. I was talking to your daughter, Abby, a little bit about everything that you guys do, and it's pretty versatile to every type of rider, but you guys are a little bit different because you also want these horses, you start them from the outside in, basically. All these horses have jobs, and they start outside and they work outside and they're taught to be horses, and then they're brought into the arena and they're fine-tuned into each discipline. So talk a little bit about that and why you structured your sale that way.
Well, what we try to do is, years ago, a horse was just, I guess you could call, I've been absolutely infatuated with horses my whole life, ever since I was young. But horses were a necessary evil for a ranch, if you want to call them that. And that's why I got into ranching, is because I loved horses and I wanted to ride and I wanted to cowboy and stuff like that. Well, so it lent itself pretty well to making, raising, and training these horses. And then I got into learning a little bit about cow horses and learning a little bit about other disciplines and trying to develop my roping a little bit. And then Abby and the boys got to rodeoing, and, whether it be running barrels or poles and we've always tried to make those horses that they went on with and rodeoed on. And so consequently, as time went on, we kept making horses, and you can't keep them all. So we would continue to sell some and ride others and continue to make them. And that's kind of how it evolved.
Yeah. Well, I'm bad. I call myself a horse hoarder. Yeah. I'm not too interested in selling. I just want to keep them all. And I know that that's so hard because, there are phases as you go through your career or through the disciplines that you go into that essentially you want to work your way out of a horse. You want to always be upgrading or things like that. And there's different levels for different riders too. So let's talk a little bit about the foundation of these horses. I know that we talk a little bit about the disciplines that you guys do, but I want to talk about the foundation, because something that I think sets your guys' horse sale apart, in which, I've learned about so much about horse sales just talking to you guys, which I'm completely ignorant. And so for a breakaway roper, this is a whole new scheme and a whole new world for us. But one thing that we have to have is we have to have good horses. I mean, that really, I think, sets apart. There's so many girls that rope great, but there's only a handful of really elite good horses. And I think that sets the ropers apart a little bit. And so everybody is looking for that great horse, and they're looking to find one that fits them. And so we're trying to learn about all of these things that it takes to have a good horse and those things. Both of my horses that I ride, I'm pretty fortunate. They were both started outside and then brought inside. And they were not started by me by any means. I am not a horse trainer. I am a horse rider. But, I think it just laid such a solid foundation on those horses. Like, they know how to be horses and they know how to work. And I think that just taught them such a big discipline and gave them confidence to then step into the arena and work. So talk a little bit about the foundation that you guys lay on your horses, and how important that is to, bringing them up that way and then putting them into your sale.
Well, just a day in the life of these horses is going to be, I might only ride 4 or 5 horses a day. And I'm calving heifers right now. And then we've got a set of early calving cows that are turned out, and we've got some later calving cows. We'll calve a little later, and we run cattle from up in the Black Hills all the way down to, down on the flats and south of Newcastle. Mm-hmm. So as far as the jobs, like a day in the life yesterday was, I got on one horse and I had a cow that had calved and didn't clean right. And so I went out and caught her and tied off, got down, went and doctored her, gave her LA. And then, basically that was about, I looked things over and went and put that horse up, caught another one. And then I trotted out through the heifers and had one calving. So I had to bring her in. Well, it's cold and it's windy, and you saddle them horses up like that, and you're off to do your job. And we don't go ride great big country all day long on one horse. I have lots of little tasks to do. So I try to saddle lots of horses to, so I can get through a lot of them and show them all something different every day. And as you touched on with the breakaway roping and having a foundation on them, there's nothing like being able to slow a horse down outside and just let him find that cow and be really, really comfortable with it, and not build all that anxiety about going to him. Because in the arena, there's just only a short amount of time to go catch one, but outside they can learn how we're going to stay there until you get it right. And so I do feel like that is an awesome way to start rope horses.
Well, and I think too, like you're saying, the day in a life of a horse, just having those different jobs. And I think that one of the misconceptions is, like you said, you don't ride one horse all day long over 20 miles, which I'm not saying some people don't, but for you guys, that's kind of the way your program works. But, you're going out there, you have a job, you're riding a horse, you're bringing them back, you're putting them up, you're getting another horse, you're doing another job. And it's like you said, they see something new and different every day. And so it's like almost like us, I'm like, if I was to put myself in the horse's shoes, like, what do you expect today? You know what I mean? So it just keeps them learning, evolving, and too, like, wanting to please you to do their job, and how that builds confidence. I know that horses can't talk. It'd be a lot easier if they could, but, building that confidence in people is doing little things each and every day.
Right.
And completing those tasks and moving forward. And it's the little things every day. So it's really, I wouldn't think it'd be any different horses.
Right. Yeah. I think that that at the end of the day, those horses, they come back sweaty every day, but it's not from all their physical exertion. It's from the wheels turning. I feel like a horse, when they start thinking about things, that's what I like to see, is a horse that focused on what he's doing. Like, I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I just get on one and go out here and catch a cow and come back.
Mm-hmm.
When I get on one, I start out across there, and I might lift his shoulder up, and he might have quite a bit of resistance right there. And so we go along, and we'll find where we can get through that. And then we'll go out and we're not racing out to go catch this cow that I need to give a shot to. Like, that is my secondary focus. My primary focus is to get this horse right. And while I need to get the heifer to the barn that's going to calve, if I feel like she needs to, if it's cold or whatever, that's truly not my primary focus, because I can get a heifer to the barn without turning that into my primary focus. My primary focus is that horse is calm, relaxed, and functions correctly as we're coming across there. He doesn't want to pull on me. He doesn't want to pull me to the cow. He just wants to stay back, listen to me, and react. And I think as we go down the road and start training them to be a rodeo horse or futurity horse or whatever you're going to do, that's what we need. We don't need a horse that he only needs to know the maneuver or anticipate the maneuver to the extent that he knows how to do it. But any more anticipation than that, he's dragging you up to the cow. He's trying to outguess you all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, hands down. Well, and it's more about, like you said, about the horse, and each and every horse is going to be different. And so you've got to go out there, and like you said, I as you're saying this, I'm like, maybe you need to make it to where you do horses and girls. Like, maybe you need to make this a breakaway roping, operation out here, to where you can, like, because, we want to do everything, and we want to do it now, and we want to have it done, and then we want to do the next thing. And then, our squirrels are running 90 miles an hour. And so I'm thinking, maybe you should make this a double operation. You know what I'm saying? And then you can make us go out and be patient too, and and work through everything. But yeah, that makes complete sense, and just the freedom of it, and time is on your side, to where that's something, as we don't have really breakaway open, time isn't on our side. We've got to do it as fast as possible. But, actually, as you sit down and you actually think about and you break it down, all of the different movements, all of the different things that these horses need to do and that we ask them to do, how they got to that point, that'll make you think a little bit. When I went down the road of becoming an entrepreneur, it was really one of the scariest things that I have ever done, but something I'm so thankful for now. I have literally started from the ground up with over 10 years of experience, and that is where Fabrizio Marketing originated from. Marketing can be very confusing and overwhelming, and if you're just starting your business or you're not sure which steps to take or how to take them, let us help. We can help you get started from the ground up with establishing your business, creating a logo, creating a brand for your business, designing a website, social media management, email marketing, you name it, we can do it. Let's get focused on growing your business and let me and my team do the hard work for you. Visit our website at fabriziomarketing.com, or you can email me at jordan@fabriziomarketing.com. We can't wait to work with you. Now let's get back to breakaway roping.
And like you said, time is not on your side in the breakaway roping. But as you well know, I don't have to tell you, you can't go to the arena if you have 30 minutes to spend, because
Right.
it just doesn't work very good. Maybe it only takes 30 minutes, but maybe it takes a lot longer.
Right.
And that's, sometimes I get on a horse and I have 5 more standing there, and maybe I only get to 2 more of them that day because that one took a lot longer. But I absolutely, I feel like I want to help that horse understand what we're trying to do that day. And when we're there, we're there. But I don't have a clock on it. So,
right. Well, and I think that, just that's something even in our society today, it seems like, man, everybody's running 900 miles an hour. And it's like, all of these things stacked up on top of each other. And how much can you get in one day? And so just listening to you talk, it's like you can take a deep sigh of relief, and be like, okay, I'm going to go ride today. And like you said, you might ride 1, you might ride 5, you might ride 10, whatever it allows, but it's a freedom that comes along with it. And I think that that's what it makes me so grateful for all of the horses that I've been able to ride and that I know that are coming through your guys' program, is because you have a confidence as a rider too, knowing that there's been time taken with this horse. There's been thought put into this. This wasn't just like, I'm going to throw 30 days on this horse and, jig him around, do whatever. And then here you go. No. And everyone looks different. And so I think that for me as a roper and a prospective buyer, that makes a big difference.
Well, as far as the thought that goes into them, I mean, they just consume me. I get intrigued by every horse every day. Like I can't wait to get on this horse to see if that's still there, to see if we can advance that a little bit. I mean, he did so great yesterday. Or the flip side of that is when I had a really rough day with one, and it can be a grind. But if we've had a really rough day with one, it'll keep me up at night trying to figure out where I went wrong, how I can make this better.
Yeah.
And so,
well, it's your job. I mean, I think that we take for granted it's a job, but it's a job that you love. I mean, I can just sit here and listen to the passion in your voice, knowing not very many people probably sit up at night wondering, why this happened. And I'm thankful for people like you, because you make good horses for people like me. So thank you. But yeah, I mean, it's a job that you truly love. And so that's going to come out, you reap what you sow. That's going to come out in everything. And I know that you can't guarantee a good horse or anything like that, as far as, I know they kind of have to want to make, and there's so many different things that go into it, but to have that foundation on one, you can't hardly go wrong.
Well, I've always thought, like you touched on, it's a job that I love. I've always thought that of all the stuff that I do, I haven't been on a horse yet this morning. I was in a big hurry. And
what are you waiting on? Oh my gosh, are you being lazy or what? I'm just kidding.
And so
probably cold
by the
up
time
there.
I get all my chores and everything done, but I've always thought every morning after I finally get on a horse, I always thought the world is just a better place.
Yep.
That's kind of been my point of view my whole life, is when I can finally get on a horse for the day, it makes the world seem to be a little better place. And I guess along that, it truly is a job that I do love. But it can have its moments too.
Yeah.
I read an article the other day, and I read a lot of articles and have had a lot of mentors, I guess you'd call them, people that I ask a lot of questions and try to go ride around them and stuff. The Wrangler had all those trainers in them, and I've read just about every one of them. and you can take some good from them, or you can take some bad from them, or whatever. But I had read an article, and one of those trainers said, if you have an undying will and just an extreme passion for it, and you just have absolutely no quit in you, you have a chance of succeeding if you have some skill and talent. And I thought that is a perfect way to sum up a horse trainer.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and I think one of the coolest things though, and as I've grown older, I've seen this more is, I used to just get on and rope or just get on and ride. Like I just really didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. And I don't know if it's because my squirrel's running 900 miles an hour all the time, or I just didn't, but it seems like the older I get, the more I cherish time. Like you're saying, and you're saying time on horse, it just seems like the world is a better place. It seems to me like that's when it seems like it slows down for me. And I'm like, you can take a deep breath and sit down and just even walk, trot, whatever you're doing. It just seems like that's my place. Like that's where I can think or whatever needs to be done. But, I just think that when you really like create that bond with your horse and you break through the, I don't even know what you would call it, but like they finally trust you and you trust them.
Yeah.
Like there's really no other feeling that's better than that, and I know it's not always perfect, and there's going to be days when they don't trust you, you don't trust them, or something gets broke, whatever. You got to always constantly work and fix and grow, but it is a true relationship, and it's different. Like with each horse, when you take the time to know them and you ride them, and like for us, like that, they literally are athletes within themselves, but they allow us to do our job and to make money. Like without them, we're nothing. And so really, as the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that and started to cherish that and try to grow with that as a horsewoman and things, which I am not by any means saying that I am, because I am far from it, but just trying to learn and glean the little things every day. It's pretty special.
Yeah. I think that is a great point about when they start to trust you. We find that when we start colts, we gain that trust early on, or we feel like we do. And then as we progress, we feel like they progress a lot faster because we just had that trust from the get-go. And then the foundation was all ours to put on. And we feel like, when we buy some of these geldings that we feel like, whether they're young geldings or 5-6-year-old geldings. I mean, by young, I mean like started 2s, 3s, whatever, as opposed to starting our own. We feel like that sometimes that is the issue, is just getting their trust. And, these horses haven't been abused. More often than not, we feel like they've maybe been confused. They're not exactly sure the task. They're not exactly sure how to complete the task. And so we feel like once we go along, I love to see those geldings. Their eye starts to change. Their whole demeanor changes. Before, when we first got them, they can be pretty stiff and rigid. And just when you get on them, there's some anxiety there. And we feel like, after we've had them a little while, I feel like all that starts to melt away, and we can be, we expect a lot out of them. So it's not like we're just feeding them carrots and they're getting more comfortable and patterned. They're actually, I think, beginning to understand the process and beginning to understand that everything is going to be okay today. I mean, we might ask a lot, but at the end of the day, it will be okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think that just builds, and I kind of want to touch a little bit, we've talked a little bit about it, but it's truly a family affair with you guys. You have your two sons, Cooper and Jake, and then Abby, obviously. And you guys, it's a family affair, and it's from the ranch to the rodeo, and then on into the ring, I would say. But talk a little bit about, like, we've talked a little bit about the foundation and all the cool things you get to do on the ranch, which maybe you should offer that as an experience, a getaway. Breakaway ropers on the ranch in Newcastle. But I think it's pretty fun to be able to know that the history that you guys have created and the legacy that you leave, it continues on in the rodeo arena and then, on in through the ring. So talk a little bit about, what you've gleaned from the ranch to the rodeo arena and then, moving these horses and actually competing and winning on them.
Well, I guess it brought up an interesting point when you said, when you talked about maybe an experience, for breakaway ropers to come. We want people to come and try our horses, and we've had a lot of people come and stay with us and try these horses, and we've had people that roped on them for 2 or 3 days, and typically somebody might just come and rope a few, because truly after you've roped a few, you probably know about everything you need to know. Right. But some of these people that come are just a little greener, and I don't think they have the confidence, and they may even bring a trainer with them, but they don't really have the confidence to just ride a horse once. So they might rope a few, and then they might stay the night and then come back the next day, look him all over, ride him around, and rope a few more. And we love that. The other thing about our sale is, and I know I'm getting off track as to what you asked, but the other thing about our sale is our policy is whatever the owner of the horse is comfortable with, as far as if somebody comes and asks to ride the horse, that's our policy. But typically we find that the type of horses that come to our sale, very seldom do we feel like there's someone there that maybe could get in trouble on that horse. And I know a lot of sales aren't that way. They feel like maybe if they let somebody on their horse, he'll make them look bad. And our policy is that if this horse isn't solid enough to handle himself in most of these situations, then probably, we try to have them that solid when they come to the sale. That's kind of our train of thought on that. As far as the kids rodeoing goes, getting back to the on track. As far as the kids rodeoing, it's awesome to have them, the boys team roping and calf roping out there, because I know a friend of mine told me one time, we can sit around and talk about how good these horses are all we want to, but sooner or later somebody's got to go win something on them. And so really we have to get them into the right hands, and hopefully the boys out there competing on them, hopefully people can see them enough that maybe we can get them into the right hands, because once again, it just really doesn't help us at all when somebody gets a horse of ours and they can't win anything on them. Ultimately our success depends on people who can A, go win on our horses, or B, can do the job that they bought them for.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the coolest things is, you see the people that are out there and that are competing. And for me, when you see somebody that has a horse that's for sale, maybe I'm just going to use Martha Angeloni for example. She had a couple horses that she was riding for a guy that she was trying to sell, Tanner Green. And she shows up on these horses, and they were just sell horses. He was selling them, but she actually showed up and rode them, and then she won on them. And she ended up buying them for herself, but she showed up and she rode them and she competed on them. And so in everybody else's eyes, it's like, well, yeah, she's willing to step up and ride this horse. So she thinks she can win on him, and that makes a big difference to people, because if you're selling horses, but you don't ride them at the rodeo, then there's a question like, well, how come you don't ride this horse? And so I think that you guys being able to show up and get on these horses and actually rope on them and compete on them in the arena, in the professional arena, amateur, whatever level that may be, high school, junior high, like you have people that are competing and winning on these horses. That just tells the tale of you, your program, the foundation you lay, and all those things. But which kind of leads me to my next question. And I want to kind of break this down a little bit, because I'm completely ignorant. So I'm probably going to ask you really silly questions, and you're probably going to roll your eyes, but that's okay, because that's what I do. So if I'm a sale, I'm a buyer. I want to come to your sale and I want to buy. I'm interested in a horse. Like, let's just walk through this process as of what it looks like if I'm a buyer, and then what it looks like if I'm a seller. So if I'm a buyer and I'm interested in one of your horses, I've went to your website, fullhousehorsesale.com, and I've checked everything out, but I've watched this one horse. I've seen the videos, but I want to come and try him. You're fine with that. A couple weeks before the sale, I can come and rope some on him. So walk me through that process of what that looks like as a buyer and how you would go through that process with us.
Well, first off, I guess as a buyer, the one thing that I find that happens most often when it's not a success is that people have showed up and bought and never asked the questions or come to look. And so by you calling and asking the questions and then coming to look and then coming to ride them, you've narrowed it down to, you're almost 95% assured of being successful, because if you don't like the horse, you're not going to buy him. And there's a 5% chance after you rode him and roped on him that, maybe there was something about him that you didn't understand. But more than likely, it will be successful, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and the thing about it, I've never really heard, and which I haven't been to very many horse sales, but I've never really heard of anybody offering like, hey, come and rope on him. Come and see what the horse is. When you can walk into a pen and catch the horse and see his personalities, his traits, what he's like day in and day out over maybe a couple of days, 3 days, rope a few on him, just learn about the horse. And maybe you go to look at one horse and there's another horse that you end up liking. I mean, but when you're as a sale and as an organization that allows its customers to do that, for me, that creates a lot of trust as a customer coming to you. I'm saying, hey, I'm putting my trust in you, and I want you to tell me what you know about this horse, and giving me the opportunity, so that way I can make the decision myself. And I can walk away from there, like you said, either knowing that this is something that is going to benefit me and my program, or making the decision, hey, maybe this doesn't benefit me and my program, but I'm going to come back because there might be something next time that does. And so I think as a buyer, that just gives me a lot of confidence in you guys as the sellers and all of those things, knowing that you're giving us the opportunity to come to try these horses. And like Abby said, you probably can't come the day before and run 30, but you could, schedule a timeout, 2 weeks prior, 3 weeks prior, something like that. Come and look at these horses and see what they're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had it happen all different ways. Last year, we had a guy come who turned out we've gotten to know him really, really well and become great friends with him. But he stayed for a couple days and roped on one. And it just went okay, but he was green enough that that it just takes a minute. And now it's a huge success story. He's been down to Charlie Crawford has the vet roping,
the veteran
thing.
Roping. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And he's been to that a couple, he's going back here just right away. He called the other day, and just a huge success story. I remember my old partner, Frank Thompson, he brought a horse. This would have been probably 10 years ago. And you know, the horse that Sawyer Gilbert won Cheyenne on,
Mm-hmm.
his name was Big Enough. When they came to try that horse, her little brother rode him smooth over our sled.
Oh no.
And it was, you know, that it, it, it's not always a huge success, but, or I guess it's not always poetry in motion for people to come
Right.
try the horses.
Right.
But then like last year, there was some people that came to try horses, and they came to try one. And after they ran one or two, we said, you know, I think you'd like this one a lot better. And they completely switched gears. And, you know, I mean, you just never know how it's going to go. Sometimes it's just an instant love story. But more often than not, it's a process.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I think,
yeah. Well, everything is.
yeah.
Well, and I think too, the cool thing is, like, you know, another thing that Abby told me you guys offer is online bidding. And so just like you're saying, okay, say I come and try them, but I can't be there the day of the sale. You know, there's several different options. You can do online bidding. Like you said, you can come, there's stalls, there's hookups, there's RVs, there's all the things. You can come, you can stay, you can be a part of it. It's not just a sale. I mean, it's a gathering, it's a community event. And I think that, you know, it's become pretty prestigious in its own right.
Yeah. You know, we facilitate it, however, is, you know, the most convenient for the buyers, because people are busy. And so especially the people that come and try them and ride them, they know what they want. So then we have phone bidding available or internet bidding available. And then other people, maybe they don't come to try one, but when they show up the day before and they watch us get all them cattle through there and get to see them horses kind of, you know, just, we like to get the cattle through there and just get our horses right. And then the next day they get to watch the whole entire preview. And, you know, I mean, very seldom do we let people rope on them in the preview, but last year, the high seller, I bet there was 4 different people who went out there and healed on him. Everybody
awesome.
from kids to a guy that was going to rope and tied on. And,
Wow.
you know, then years ago, Owen Whaler came up and he wanted to try a horse. That was the only day that he had available to come try this horse. And he's a longtime friend of ours.
Mm-hmm. He went to school we call him Big O.
Yeah.
Well, actually we call him Mongo. But he went to school for my husband and I, and he's one of our really good friends. Don't tell him I like him or anything, but yeah, he's a good kid.
Well, he only had just that day available, and I said, absolutely, just come on up. And so I said, why don't you just run out there and run you a couple on him? And he showed him like a superstar. And I guess he should have loused it up a little bit because he couldn't afford to buy him there that day. But at any rate, so yeah, it happens all different ways. That's for sure.
So on the other hand of it, you know, say there's a lot of people now that are getting into it. The breakaway especially is so hot and heavy. There's a lot of people wanting to start training horses. We've got a lot of these fraternities going on. So a lot of these younger horses coming up through the ranks. What's it look like if you want to be a seller and be a part of this sale?
Oh, that's a great point that I would like to bring up. Primarily, it's all my longtime consigners that started with me, and we've picked up some new ones over the years that we've kept. But we do have new ones come along periodically. For instance, Bailey Young, he brought his first horse probably 3 years ago, and he's been coming ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a great one in it this year, little little bet he's a cat mare that win 10,000 down there in the American Rope Horse Futurity. Cade Kinghorn is bringing his first horse. Kurt and Cade have actually never took a horse to a horse sale before. This is the first horse sale they've ever been to. And so, and he's been talking about it for years. He calls me every year, and finally he's bringing a horse that's, he won third in the world in the AQHA tie down, was kind of supposed to win it. They ran him through, ran a calf through the loop on one. But so, yeah, I guess, we take in new consigners. We're not exclusive by any means. All we want is good, reputable, honest consigners that are out there to train good, reputable, trustworthy type horse that, because ultimately at the end of the day, if there's sorry horses there, it all falls on me.
Right.
And so consequently, I don't have to know every horse in the sale because I know all my consigners. And over the years, they've been awesome.
Well, and I think that's just going to speak for itself. You know what I mean? Definitely a product of their environment. And then, what you see is what you get too among that. And, I always hear you have a first chance to make your first impression. And, I think a lot of these people that are going to see these horses have success in the arena, they're going to start asking questions, and then it's going to lead back to you, and so we always, we can't control everything, but like you said, you guys want to do the best that you can. And you do try to take every precaution to do that for these horses. And I think that makes a huge difference, and it shows in the work that you create.
Yeah. We started out this with this goal in mind about having a trustworthy, well-rounded horse that had been started ranching, and you could take him to the arena, and that typically we didn't just head on a horse or just heel on a horse. Typically we had heel, rope calves, we rope outside. Heck, we might run barrels on him. We might do everything on him. And over the years, like I said, we've been doing this a long time. And this was what we started out with. And so over the years, it seems like these sales have come along, and you see a lot of different things, like a lot of people laying horses down and cracking whips and riding them over tarps. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being critical of that at all. It's just not typically what you would see at our sale. We don't have a lot of that. We have more fundamental skills that we use every day, as opposed to that type of stuff. And I always felt like some of these sales around are achieving a lot of success with different things like that. And we've always just tried to stay in our lane and just do what we do. We ranch on them, we rope on them, and we don't typically teach them tricks, only just because it's not a passion of mine a passion of mine is to create great riding, great broke, great rope horses. And so that's what we try to do.
Well, that's a deal breaker for me. If they don't bow and curtsy, I'm out.
I don't blame you.
I'm just kidding. Okay, Greg. One last question for you. I am very excited about your guys' horse sale, like I said. But I ask everybody that comes on my podcast, and I'm very interested to hear your answer. But if you had to go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be and why?
Oh, if I had to go back and tell my younger self something, I would have no earthly idea what single thing would be the most important to tell my younger self. but you know, I guess if I had to pick one, I would have to say that if I could have understood when I first started riding horses, if I could have understood that it's more about building confidence in a horse, no matter what you're trying to do, it's more about building confidence than it is attempting to teach them how to do something. Because as your training progresses, my younger self would just continue to try to pound things into them that they weren't completely grasping. And now I understand more about how to help them to understand things as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably one of the most important things that I'd tell myself, because as I go along, I realize how much more confident and how much more my horses are just, I guess I can't find the words for it, but they just let down so much better,
Right. They trust you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that I was very excited to just kind of hear your perspective on that, because one thing I loved is there's some people that like have an instant, well, I would have done this, I would have done that. And one thing I loved about yours was, you can tell you've had a life well lived so far, and much more to come, but pretty neat that it all reflects back to what we were talking earlier, as far as like your true love and your passion comes through horses and riding those horses and working with those horses every day. And I don't really know that you can call what you do a job, because I think you like it too much. Like, so I don't think that you can really call that a job. But that's at the end of the day, to say that you love what you do and literally it comes out in your words and your actions, I think that tells a tale for itself. But I am very excited about your guys' sale. So if you guys want to check them out, go to fullhousehorsesale.com and you can watch the videos. You can get information. You can sign up to bid remotely. You can come and stay. All social media profiles. If you have questions, reach out. There's emails, there's phone numbers. Like I said, guys, I don't think that there's any question that's going to go unanswered. If you want to go up there and stay in rope, get after it. Craig, how many horses are you going to have in this year's sale?
There's 53 scheduled. And Typically we, just because of the nature of what we sell, typically there will be a couple, 2 or 3 outs due to injuries, just because we're out there using them and riding them and competing on them every day. And so, as you well know, there's just no way to avoid that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
that's just part of it. So, well, I'm very excited for you guys. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time today and coming to the show. And we will wish you the best at your sale. Thank you for joining us on In the Loop Breakaway Roping Podcast. I truly appreciate all of your loyal support. Don't forget to leave me a review, share this episode with a friend, and if you have any questions, I want to hear from you. Email me at jordan@thebreakawayropingpodcast.com. Go check us out, sign up for our newsletter, get our email alerts, text alerts, and all things breakaway roping. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you down the road.